And I would like to know why CNN is hostile to veterans, especially one in Florida, where you just had a $5 million defamation suit taking offense at a veteran who was trying to help people. In fact, one of your employees actually said, we're going to nail him. I have a question for you, Kaitlan. Is that employee still employed? Are you really concerned about veterans? So if we don't want to talk about veterans now, you want to talk about everything else, I'd like to hear from CNN as the veteran cabinet secretary why CNN seems to have a problem with veterans.
CNN's Kaitlan Collins just got served a brutal reality check by Trump's former VA secretary in a fiery on-air clash. But here's the kicker. This wasn't just any heated exchange. It was a full-blown takedown that left Collins scrambling for answers. What happened? Why was CNN so desperate to spin the story? And most importantly, what does this reveal about the media's real agenda? Stick around as we break down every moment.
We heard from some of your former colleagues up on the Hill today, some Republicans who said they don't like how the administration is handling this, that they're kind of tying themselves in knots by saying it wasn't classified information. Do you believe that a mistake was made here, though, to have this conversation, to add a reporter and to have it on an unsupported, classified group setting?
Kaitlan, as I've just told you, I've just answered the question. I wasn't part of it. And, I'm not going to speculate more than what the president's already talked about and those who've been involved have talked about. But we'd love to talk about the veterans.
Yeah, and I do have questions about the veterans. But given what we saw with the group chat and how this was used, you are a member of the cabinet. You obviously know these other members, several of them who were in there. Is this typical for the cabinet to have conversations over Signal? Is this something that you use?
Well, Kaitlan, since you undoubtedly do not want to talk about the VA, I have a question as VA Secretary. As Cabinet, I want to ask you.
That was intense. You saw it right there. Collins trying to push her usual narrative, but Trump's VA Secretary wasn't having any of it. Let's break down what really happened. Collins pushed the claim about a so-called leak involving Signal, trying to suggest some grand conspiracy. But the VA Secretary fired back, exposing CNN's double standards.
And I would like to know why CNN is hostile to veterans, especially one in Florida, where you just had a $5 million defamation suit taking offense at a veteran who was trying to help people. In fact, one of your employees actually said, we're going to nail him. I have a question for you, Kaitlan. Is that employee still employed? Are you really concerned about veterans? So if we don't want to talk about veterans now, you want to talk about everything else, I'd like to hear from CNN as the veteran cabinet secretary why CNN seems to have a problem with veterans.
Well, Mr. Secretary, respectfully, my question was about whether or not you as a member of the cabinet use this. And respectfully, I'm conducting the investigation. And I do have a lot of questions for you on Veterans Affairs, but I don't think it would be unwarranted to ask
what you want to do is talk about a subject that I've already answered. And if you want to continue this like this, that's fine. But there are VA employees who are working very hard. There are veterans who get their care from the VA and they get their benefits from the VA. And it does me no good to speculate on something that I've already asked and answered. So I've asked and answered your question. Why don't you answer mine? Are you still, is this person still employed who said they were going to nail one of my veterans, who you had to do a $5 million award from a jury because of defamation, and then you settled the case? Answer my question.
Boom, that moment right there. You can see Collins scrambling as the VA secretary dismantles her argument piece by piece. CNN thought they could control the narrative, but the truth always finds a way out.
Before this interview started, and I told you I'd get to these questions about Veterans Affairs. You don't want to answer that one. We'll talk about what the VA did announce, that they were suspending $2 billion in planned contracts. That is a number that was quickly changed, and there were 300 contracts that had initially been labeled as wasteful that were removed from that list of cuts. Secretary Collins, why were those contracts removed from that?
Well, number one, you were dealing with a leaked document that was pre-decisional and not had been made in the actual end of the day amount. We had over 1.8 billion. It was part of that, actually 500 million that were roughly real-time cuts. The articles that went out, and what I've been fighting for the last 6 weeks while I've been on the job, is innuendo and rumor and leaking, designed really to scare veterans and scare veteran employees. So we're continuing our cuts. The number really didn't change. The problem is the press decided to run with leaked documents that were pre-decisional. And so you get a bad result when you don't wait to actually see what the end result's going to be.
Well, I'm a little confused about the process, because it was on February 26th that the VA announced the plans to save $2 billion. And then on March 3rd, it was the department that announced revised plans. So isn't it the Department of Veterans Affairs who announced that initially?
No, I think what we had to understand is there's about 1.8 billion, almost $2 billion in cuts that were found. Some have already been, spent that were just going to not go forward. Others in about the months that we've had already that are saving in this year. So really the numbers are not changed. Again, it goes back to a pre-decisional issue in which others pointed this has already been made, and those decisions were still in the process of being made.
Oh, okay, but it was the Veterans Affairs Department that announced that initially, right?
Exactly. I mean, and I've just answered that, Kaitlan. I'm not sure how I can help you any more on that. The decisions were made and still in process. When the decisions were made that we actually did, and it was about 1.8 billion, the actual numbers and where they found it out, which contracts were still in the decisional process.
Yeah, I heard you mention that about HR the other day. But when it comes to Musk himself, obviously he's been involved in the cabinet meetings. I know you had another one this week, and in the one previously it was reported that you had said to him that it needed to be done, skillfully and strategically in terms of how those cuts were being made. But ultimately, at the end of the day, are you the one who makes those decisions on what those cuts look like?
Oh, that's for dadgum sure. I'll raise my hand to be the Secretary of VA. I make the decisions on what's going to happen here. And that's what the president asked me to do. And that's what the president reinforced in our meetings, that the secretaries of these cabinets and directors are the ones who have the ultimate decision to do what's best for their departments. Elon Musk is a great partner to help us with technology and other things to give fresh looks. I think everybody has a fresh look at some point to make sure you're still doing what your mission is supposed to be. And for us, it's about the veteran. My day one focus has been saying the VA is not about the VA organization. It's about the veterans we serve. We're not an employment agency. We're a service organization, and we're going to use that anyway. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with me, and I answer to the president and to the American people and to the veterans that we're supposed to serve.
Secretary Doug Collins, thank you for your time.
Now, this isn't the first time CNN has been caught twisting the facts, and it won't be the last. But moments like these expose their real agenda. What do you think? Did Trump's VA secretary handle this well? Drop your thoughts in the comments.